Here now are 4 words that ought to be music to the ears of a doomsday cult mom. The end is near. Sadly, I don't mean the end of the world for her sake, but I do mean the end of her trial, Lori Vallow's murder trial in Arizona. She is accused of plotting with her late brother to kill her 4th husband. And today the prosecution rested. And Lori Vallow, representing Lori Vallow, she tried to rest too, but she messed it up. She told the judge that she doesn't plan to call any witnesses, but wants the weekend to decide if she'll testify herself on Monday. But that is when closing arguments were scheduled. And oh, what a spectacle it would be if Lori gets to stand up on the dais and swear in and sit down and ask herself questions. Right? Oh, this judge, he's got the patience of a saint. Anyway, Monday, we'll find out. So she didn't rest. She wanted to rest, didn't rest, hasn't rested. That's going to happen Monday. But please, God, please take the stand and ask yourself questions. Whether she does that or whether she doesn't do it. And whatever the jury decides in this case, Lori is still going to die in prison in Idaho for the murders of her 2 children and her current 5th husband's late wife, right? Get the wife out of the way and marry him. That's what she did. And that brings me to my next guest, a guy that I pestered more often than I should have 5 years ago when Idaho was building its case against Lori. Back then, he was Lieutenant Ron Ball, the lead investigator on the case, and the toughest nut to crack. He wouldn't tell me a dang thing. But today, he is Sheriff of Madison County, Ron Ball, in Idaho, and he's allowed to spill some secrets that he couldn't spill before. Okay, Sheriff, it is good to talk to you officially now, and I can't believe you made me wait 5 years, but thank you for being on the show right now.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being here.
Okay, so let's talk about first what it's like, because you were down in Arizona. You're watching Lori Vallow getting up and wandering around the courtroom and speaking her mind, when in Idaho, she sat mute, never testified, never said a word except for the one-word answer she had to give the judge. What's your impression of the Lori Vallow you're seeing in Arizona?
Well, I think that it's just really no surprise to anybody. I don't think she's doing that well. But Lori tends to just have to have things her way, I think. And she wants people to hear her story. And so in Idaho, she never got really to tell her story, because I think during that trial, her attorneys had her best interest. And she didn't really get to say anything until sentencing. And you probably recall that sentencing was quite interesting. And now she's in Arizona. She's chosen to be her own attorney, so she gets to give the details that she wants. You know, she gets to tell the story how she wants to tell it. I'm extremely interested to see how she closes this thing out, whether or not she does testify or, her closing statement.
Yeah, like I said, please God, for the television sake of it, I want to see it. For her defense, terrible idea. Can we talk about the day that her 5th husband, current husband, Chad Daybell, co-defendant and also convicted of the triple murder and on death row, the day that Chad Daybell was arrested, and you were there at his house, you all showed up with warrants looking for the bodies of these 2 children of Lori's, JJ and Tylee. Can you tell me some of the secrets you're allowed to tell now that you were not allowed to tell anybody before?
I don't know if there's a whole lot of secrets. I mean, we've had now 2 trials involving that search that day. There is one thing that hasn't got to be mentioned is when we were on that property searching, and right after we found JJ in his grave, Chad left. He'd been across the street at his daughter's house. He got in his vehicle, was driving down the road, and so patrol officers or surveillance officers we had at that time watching him pulled him over, and myself and Detective Ray Hermosillo, also lead on this case. We went there to where he was stopped, and I had the opportunity to go up and talk to Chad, and I said, Chad, you're being detained right now. We found JJ, and I think we're going to find Tylee. And he was shaking his head in the affirmative. And I said, I know you came from your daughter's house. Is there anything that you want me to go back and tell him? And this comment from him struck me odd because he said, I've already told them that I'd probably be going to jail today. And it was kind of an eye opener for me at that time, because it's really the first time he's said anything about that. It was almost a confession. It's probably the closest we had to any type of confession from Chad. So at that point in time, you know, it was, we knew that he knew that it was just a matter of time, and that he was on the clock and his freedom was on the clock, because he knew what was going on. He knew what we were going to find on the property that day.
Yeah, I'll bet. Amazing. So what I'd never heard, and I don't think anybody's heard before, is that you said, we found JJ, and I think we're going to find Tylee, and he nodded in the affirmative as though he knew. That's remarkable. And that he said, yeah, my kid, better tell my daughter that I'm going to be going to jail today. Why didn't that make it into court? Why didn't that end up in the trial?
I'm sorry, Ashleigh. Maybe I better correct myself. I asked if he wanted me to go back and tell his daughter what was going on, and he says, I already told them, because there's multiple kids over there. I told them I would probably going to jail today. So at that point, he knew why we were there, and he knew it was just a matter of time.
Real quickly, why didn't that make it into court? Why wasn't that allowed into court, that statement, which is so close to a confession?
Because at that time, we also knew that Chad had an attorney. So anything that he would have said was that attorney-client privilege.
Sure.
And so
yeah, Fifth Amendment. If you invoke your right? You invoke your right to an attorney, and everything after that isn't allowed in. So that's quite clever on his part, but God bless you for finally telling me that.
Yeah, it was just one of them moments of many moments through this whole case. I mean, this is a case that's gone on for years, and I was counting how many detectives or investigators we had on this case. It just carried on for so long, and it was quite an astonishing investigation. I think with so many agencies and so many people involved, you have to give credit to the agencies involved, how well we got along, because we all had one goal, and that goal was to bring justice, not just to the kids, but to everybody. And we, even the small part we may have even played in what's going on in Arizona right now.
Yeah. Well, listen, Sheriff Ron Ball, it's really good to talk to you. I think I've never had more conversations with a source about snow machines than the actual case itself, because I couldn't get you to say anything back then. But thanks for being on tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ashleigh.
You take care of yourself up there.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.